Hi and welcome to the Suansuk Homestay Garden video. I'm Kevin LJ, a New Zealander who lives in Thailand and loves to garden. In this video I want to talk about what we call here the king's grass. It's also known as vetiver grass. It's referred to commonly here as the king's grass because back in the early 90s His Majesty King Bumibol started to promote it and educate people through the royal projects as to the many benefits this grass has. And here at our homestay we've got lots of different types of grass. In our neighbour's field right adjacent to us there's rice. We've got a nice lawn of a Malaysian grass, and we've also got lemongrass growing in our garden, and one of our favourites, of course, our beloved bamboo. And the king's grass is another favourite because it is such a wonderful plant to have growing for a number of different reasons that I'll share with you in this video. The king's grass helps amazingly with erosion control. It's also fabulous for breaking up poor and heavy clay soils, and it also helps draw nutrients from deep in the ground that other plant roots can't reach. We started planting the king's grass here even as we were building the house, before we'd finished building, because we realised that there was some banks and slopes in the section that were going to need some help to prevent them eroding. And so my wife purchased a couple of packs of slips and we just popped them in wherever we thought we needed it. In some places they've done better than others. We planted some of the original slips here at the front of the house, and originally they took off quite well and it put down roots and were looking healthy. But as the trees grew and began to shade the area more, they've really struggled to survive. So I'll dig these ones up and separate them into slips and plant them down the back where we really could use them in an area that does get full sun. Here along the north side of the house are some of the other original slips that have done very, very well. I've cut these back a number of times. I've realised that cutting them back right to the ground is about the best option. Initially I was leaving maybe 20 centimetres, 6 to 8 inches of growth on them, and found that this was just dying. So instead of doing this, I've experimented and cut them right back hard to the ground, and they come away very, very well. So some of these ones behind me I've cut back recently, maybe a month ago, and you can see here the lush new growth that's already happening. These ones here I haven't cut back for a while and they're actually flowering now. Most of the varieties seem to be sterile. I've not noticed any of the king's grass growing from seed, but certainly growing it from the slips that we take is very, very easy. You just need a little bit of root on each slip and it will take. And initially they'll need a little bit of watering at this time of the year in our rainy season. That's pretty easy, it happens naturally. But once they're established, they don't need much attention at all, and they cope very well in both dry or very wet situations. And in cooler climates they'll even cope with a bit of frost, but certainly not with a ground freeze. So in areas where erosion is a problem from water runoff, these plants cope extremely well. Planted on embankments, they will even produce natural terracing. As the soil washes down an embankment and hits up against the base of the plant, the culms will shoot out new roots into that new soil, and then they will shoot down vertically. And the roots of the king's grass will grow to a depth of approximately 5 metres, and even after a couple of years they'll be 2 metres down into the soil. And they're very fine and they tend to mat together and really help the water retention in the soil. And as I was mentioning earlier, they break up heavy, poor clay soils because the roots just keep going and going and going and expanding out and down into the soil and drawing nutrients up to the surface as well. And down here at the back of our section we've got an area of land that we levelled, so the embankment here is fairly vulnerable to erosion. At the moment it's just got a bunch of weeds growing on it, so I'm keen to get more of the king's grass in here. I did plant some a while ago and it's kind of doing okay, but I really want to plant it a lot more densely. And over here on the other side where it's level, this ground was 2 or 3 meters below the surface originally. Now that we've leveled it, it's just exposed this very, very poor soil. And there's also a drain running through here. So I'm going to plant the king's grass around the edge of the drain and on some of this level area that will help improve the soil no-end. And it'll also make it easier for me to mow along the edge of the drain and keep it looking nice. So as I plant the slips, I'll be putting them in the ground between 10 and 15 centimetres apart. That's about 4 to 6 inches apart. And over time, these will form quite a nice thick hedge. The plants will grow individually to about a diameter of 60 centimetres or so, that's about 2 feet, and they don't actually mind being that close to each other. They do quite well in close proximity. Initially I'll need to keep it watered till it takes, but then after that it's pretty hardy and it'll survive. And within a year or two I'll be cutting it back, and I've realised I can cut it back very hard and make fabulous use of the trimmings as mulch for the garden. In the vegetable garden, I'll cut it up into shorter lengths and place it around my seedlings, because I've discovered that the slugs and snails don't like it. It's fairly sharp. I cut myself today handling some of it. And I think that the slugs and snails don't like this aspect of the king's grass either, so they stay away from it because it's pretty tough on them. And that's great for my vegetable seedlings. And I'll also put it around the base of trees and shrubs and other areas that need some mulch. So there's just a few of the reasons we like to have the king's grass in our garden. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've learned something new, please click that like button for us. And if you're new to our channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can stay up to date when we release new videos. Thanks for watching.